Hi, this is Julie Jara from New Frequency Healing. I've been working with healers all over Australia, actually all over the world for many years, and I thought it would be really cool to introduce some of them to you and let them talk about some of their healing stories. Michael Taylor, I have been working with for a long time. He's been a healer all of his life, all of his adult life. And he's based in Tasmania, Australia, but does do healing all over the world. So, Michael, hello.
Hello, Julie. How you going up there?
Well, pretty good.
Yeah.
Would you like to just let us know something about yourself and a healing
Sure.
story we were going to tell?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. I guess my background, I was involved in this kind of work, like Julie just said, for a long time, but particularly doing this sort of energy healing, I guess, since probably about 2009. And I'm an early childhood teacher by many, many years experience. So now what I really love to do is actually teach some of these healing skills to little children and to their parents. So that's my special thing that I love to do. But Julie asked for some stories about healing, and I thought I'd start by telling you about my own experience, because that's the one I know the most about, I suppose. So when we had our first child back in 1984, I was carrying around in one of those pouches on the front, and she was only a tiny baby, but somehow or other that gave me quite a lot of backache. And then the next day, I remember I injured myself when I was trying to fix something on my car. And so I had this horrendous sciatic pain. And if you've ever had that, it's pretty bad. And so it was getting treatment for that until it took about a week to get better. And then over the next probably 20 years, I kept on having to have treatments for that same problem. Probably every 4 to 6 weeks, I'd go back to the chiropractor or the doctor and have a treatment. And that would last, like I say, for another a month or so. When I learnt this most recent healing techniques, the same thing happened. I back went out as usual, and I went back to the doctor, and he did his thing, and it didn't really help at all. So finally, actually, after 2 visits to him over 2 or 3 days, I decided I better put this new healing knowledge that I'd gained to practice, and put myself down on the couch and do a self-healing, which I did. And very simple, I just lay there and just felt the new frequencies that I'd been introduced to. And it felt nice. Got up, and probably within an hour or two, my back felt better. And long story short is I haven't been back to the doctor. I think I've been to see him 2 or 3 times in that period, which is like, 12 years now. And it's a bit of a joke because, he's, when I do see him, it's quite funny because he's like, oh, I don't see much of you these days. And he knows that I do this new thing. So it's quite funny. But it's great. It's a true story. I have to be careful, of course. I have to be conscious that I don't injure myself. But I haven't had that kind of pain occur for a very long time. So that's been a really good thing. So I could also tell you a little story about probably a recent client.
That'd be wonderful. We'd love to hear something.
Sure. Okay. Well, I did have a client yesterday, but I've got a nice feedback from another client that just was in November last year. And this lady was able to, because she was in Scotland, she was able to email me some feedback. And so I've got it here. And so I'll just read through it because it's lovely, I think. So the first session on the 1st of November last year, she said, thank you, that was quite an experience. I could feel the energy move through me quite rapidly, almost like a blast of energy initially. I felt coolness or heat at different times and some tingling. I could feel the energy go to where some of my ailments are and have experienced some relief. Some of my symptoms I've had for more than a year, so I'm looking forward to seeing how things progress after another session. I'm keen to have the sessions, so she goes on to arrange the next session. So the next one was a week later on the 7th of November. And after that, she emailed me again. Just wanted to update you ahead of our session today, which I'm really looking forward to. Over the last few days, I've experienced quite a shift in my physical symptoms. Everything has been gradually getting better and feels like I'm almost there. Also, like a huge weight has been lifted emotionally. I've released a lot, 2 exclamation marks. Have needed to drink so much water. Additionally, I'm feeling calmer but energized. I want to eat healthier and less, and I stop eating after a certain time of the evening. Smiling more and have a renewed sense of optimism, less fear. Very grateful. So she had another session a few weeks later, and she said, the effects of the healing sessions have continued to be very positive. My health is improving greatly, and I finally feel like I'm unstuck and I'm moving forward. I would love to have a session with you so that we can share how to continue with self-healing. So it was lovely of her to give me such detailed feedback, which is not unusual, but it's nice to get it in writing sometimes rather than verbally. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I find I just hear story after story, and each time it can be huge and it can be small. It can be the part that someone just feels better and they kind of naturally know what they need to do. Like she said, she needed to drink water and things like that, which obviously we don't diagnose or give those suggestions. So that's just part of the healing, her own wisdom coming out, which is so cool.
Yes. Yeah, really lovely. It was 6 years ago that I moved my local practice into a health centre in Hobart.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I went there to be interviewed by the 2 doctors who run the centre, they said, well, what kind of things do you treat? And I was like, well, I don't actually treat things, but I'll have a look through I don't actually treat, certain conditions. I'm not a physician, I'm not a doctor. But I'll look back through my records and just see what are the most common things that people come in with. What do they say that they're there for? What brings them to see me? So I looked back through my records and tallied them up. And the most common thing was back pain and shoulder pain, things like that, physical pains, which was interesting in relation to the experience, my own experience, what I just talked about. Mm-hmm. But also the spectrum went from there right through to, really things like, I just feel like I need a new direction in my life, or I feel anxious, or I've been depressed, or, I'm just curious, So the whole spectrum of things. So that was interesting to do that little bit of research. And
that's great. Well, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. It's really nice to hear some of the other practitioners' experiences. I'm sure everyone will love to hear it. If someone wants to get in contact with you, you've got a website, I think, that they can
go to. I do have a website. It's called lubbish.com, LUBBISH.com, which is a word that I thought I had invented, but it turned out to be a common name in India.
Okay, so lubbish.com, cool.
It means lovely in my little imagination, anyway.
Okay.
It rhymes with rubbish, but there's no R, there's L.
Thanks so much, Michael.
Well, thank you, Julie.
Great to hear more from you, and when what other healings come up. I know we all have hundreds of healing stories, and healing is possible. I think that's the message to get out to everyone more and more, is that any type of healing, there's always a possibility of something shifting for someone.
Absolutely, yeah. You'll always get something from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See ya.